Hey guys, welcome back to Real Housewives Recaps. I am so happy you're here. It's Patreon Day. So, this is my first Patreon episode and I'm launching it for everybody to see. I wanted to make sure you knew how to sign up. So, if you're looking to join, you can find me at Patreon, patreon.com, and then you look up Real Housewives Recaps. Search that and you will find my channel logo. You'll recognize it, and there's my page. Going forward, you'll see one go up a week. It'll probably be toward the end of the week. I'm not sure of the schedule yet. If you signed up for the middle tier, we'll be doing Carrie Diaries as well. That will come out twice a month, as well as all the Sex and the City episodes. The top tier, I limited to just a few of you guys. I'll be reaching out and we'll be talking about what you guys want to talk about. Since I'm giving this one away to everybody to hear what it's going to be like, I'm going to go ahead and record my second episode and get that up and running for you before you even sign up. So that way when you sign up, you have something else to listen to. Just a bonus from me to you to sincerely thank you for your kindness, for your support. I really appreciate it. So let's jump in. I'm watching these on HBO Max in case you want to watch along with me. You guys, as soon as that opening music starts up, my heart, it just gets so happy, right? It's like a warm hug, and it's one of those things that anytime it's on, I have to watch it. I've seen them all a million times, as I'm sure you have as well. But this is just another excuse to go back and watch them again, right? So, opening scene, I'm sure you've noticed, but just in case you don't, see the people on the bus? They disappear. Watch the opening credits. See right there. There are no people on the bus. That's a thing that everybody's noticed. I've noticed. We've all noticed. It just cracks me up. So first scene of the show, we're greeted with Carrie's computer. She's typing out, "Once upon a time, an English journalist came to New York." So here's a funny thing about this. They clearly refer to this actress as being English when her accent is Australian. And so there was just kind of a funny goof on their part. So this is Elizabeth, played by Sarah Winter, who was on 24. She hooked up with Tim, 42, an investment banker. Tim is Scott Bryce, who played Will Forrest in Murphy Brown. They met in a gallery opening. She had just moved there from London. It was love at first sight. And we see them falling in love, and then he pops the question, and by that I mean, hey, you want to go look at this real estate with me? Things are going well. He even invites her to go to dinner with his parents. Then all of a sudden he calls her and says, "You know what? My mom's not feeling well. Can we rain check?" Then we flash to her. She hadn't heard from him in 2 weeks. He said he was up to his ears and would call her the next day. And yeah, what a dick. So Elizabeth, she's having lunch with Carrie, and this is the first shot of Carrie, although I suspect it's a stand-in because we only see it from behind. She's smoking. We have darker hair. Then we're at Carrie's apartment. First flash to her apartment. Now, this is the only episode where we see this apartment. It's a totally different apartment. And she's looking and talking to the camera, which is, again, different. I believe that happens throughout the first season. I can't remember if it's in the second season, but it's the first mention of Manola Blahniks as well. So a lot of firsts here. Very excited to get all of this going. It's so much fun to rewatch these. Why there's so many great unmarried women and not great unmarried men. She explores these in her column. She talks to her friends. And again, it's just a different dynamic. They're talking to the camera. Each of them get labels on the screen so we know who is who. Now this guy is Capote Duncan. And he's going to come up in a little bit and I'll tell you some interesting things about him. Okay, so first Miranda's sighting here. She's talking about a friend who had a breakdown because she was single at 41 and had to move back to, I think it was Wisconsin. Then we go over to Charlotte. Charlotte says, if you want to get these guys, you have to keep your mouth shut and play by the rules. Isn't it fun to see them back at the beginning? Just young and fun, and it's just totally different show, right? The way that it looks then, and I'm not even talking about the train wreck we're dealing with now. I'm talking about throughout the series. That always happens, with your pilot episode. Time passes between the pilot and the series, so I understand that things look different. It's just funny to see. So we get introduced to Skipper Johnston. He's the friend in the first season. So Miranda talks about being out with these short, poor guys, and it makes no difference. They're all self-centered as the rest of them. So it's Miranda's birthday, and we get our first sighting of Samantha. You guys, my heart. Samantha. Another 30-something birthday with a group of female friends. So Samantha's encouraging them to all go out and have sex like a man. Says, do it without feeling. So Samantha is introduced as somebody who routinely has sex with men in their 20s. This is the first time in the history of Manhattan that women have had as much money and power as men. So again, I love her. First scene, right off the bat. I miss you, Samantha. After dinner, we're back in Carrie's apartment. We're having the voiceovers. She's talking about giving up on love and talking to the camera. And then we get our first Stanford scene. Owner of a talent agency. He has a single client. It's Derek. He says Derek takes up 1,000% of his time. Carrie calls him a bit obsessive. He says his career is all that he cares about. Derek is an underwear model with a billboard in Times Square. Carrie recognizes somebody at the bar, Kurt Harrington. Kurt Harrington, played by Bill Sage. He was in American Psycho and in The Good Fight. Carrie refers to him as a mistake she made at 26, 29, 31. Stanford's telling her, don't go there, and she says, relax. I don't have a shred of feeling left for him. But she does admit that it's the best sex she ever had. So she walks to the bathroom and accidentally on purpose bumps into him. She flirts back and forth with him, and he says, how about you come to my place at 3 p.m.? She says, okay. See you there. But now's the time where I pause the recap and we take a look at something really quick. Would Sarah Jessica Parker allow herself to be filmed like this in any other episode? This is not being an a-hole, even though I kind of am. I'm just pointing out that nobody would look good in this lighting. It's kind of a harsh angle we're looking at, very little makeup. And it isn't the Carrie that we come to know soon, right? So it's just interesting to see the difference here right off the bat versus going forward. So Stanford says, are you out of your mind? She says, no, it's just research. And this time we're not going to get messy. It's not going to be emotional attachment. So then she goes over to Kurt's and they have sexy time. She gets hers, we'll just say, and when it's time to return the favor, he says, my turn. She says, oh, no, I have to go back to work. He's mad. He says, are you serious? She says, oh, yes, completely. I'll give you a call. We can get together sometime. She was very proud of herself. She said she realizes she just had sex like a man. She left feeling incredibly alive. And what happens, you guys? She bumps into Big. It's our very first Big sighting. Some guy had bumped into her. All her stuff fell out of her purse, including a bunch of condoms. He picks them up, hands them to her. And she says, number one, he's very handsome. And number two, he's not wearing a wedding ring. She said he also knows I carry a supply of Trojans. She walks away, she looks back at him, and he smiles and waves at her. So later, she meets up with Skipper. That's played by Ben Weber. He's from 6 Feet Under, Kissing Jessica Stein, all kinds of stuff. He confesses it's been a year since he's had sex. He says he's romantic, and he has so much feelings, and he's begging her to set him up with somebody. She says maybe she'll set him up with her friend Miranda, and that the next night they're going to be going to a Club Chaos. He might be able to meet them there. Carrie says Miranda will hate Skipper. She'll think he's mocking her with his sweet nature. So we find out Charlotte has a date with Capote Duncan. That's why she's not coming to Club Chaos. But Capote Duncan is supposedly one of the city's most notorious bachelors. He's played by Jeffrey Nordling, and he played Gordon Klein on Big Little Lies. If you don't know who I'm talking about, he was Renata's husband. Renata was Laura Dern on Big Little Lies, and he played the husband. So it's Friday night at Chaos, and Carrie says it's the creme de la creme of New York. Everybody's smoking inside. It's just kind of funny to look back at a time where they could do that. So Miranda and Skipper are on their date. She keeps calling him Skippy and giving him a hard time every time he's trying to talk to her. The subtext being that a good guy might be right in front of her and she just isn't seeing it. She doesn't see it like that. So meanwhile, while this is going on, Carrie runs into Kurt. He says initially he was pissed about the way that she left things the other day. And then he realized, hey, you finally get it. You finally understand the kind of relationship that I want. Sex without commitment. Whenever you feel like it, you give me a call and I'll do the same. He says, I like this new you. So everything that she had thought she wanted kind of backfired. She thought she would use him a little bit, but it turns out that he's not really bothered by it. He's kind of into it and he wants them to use each other. Then we see Carrie talking to Samantha. Samantha looks beautiful here. I just love her hair, her makeup, her styling. Everything looks great. That guy's an up-and-comer, and he's very good looking, and she's surprised that Carrie waves at him. Of course, he's the one that handed her the condoms the other day, so they kind of know each other. Sam says, well, if you aren't going to hit on him, I will. So then we go over to Charlotte and Capote. So they just walk out of some sort of performance, and he's trying to get her to go back to his place to see a painting. She's determined to play hard to get. She doesn't want to, but she doesn't want to end the evening too abruptly. So she decides, okay, fine, I'll go for just a little bit. So she walks around his apartment and admires his art. That's not a euphemism. She's actually admiring the art. So they start to kiss, and she's stopping him from going too far. And he offers to get her a cab. Can we take a minute and look at this? I actually love this dress. I know it's very 90s, but the 90s are back in. Don't love the hairstyle for Charlotte, but I think she looks fantastic in this dress. So he gets her a cab. You know, it's like going well. It's the end of the date. She's hoping he'll say, let's see each other again. And he does. He says he wants to take her out again. But then he says, you're going to the Upper West Side, right? And she says, yeah. He says, scoot over, will ya? And he gives the driver another address for a second stop. And she says, you're going to Chaos? He says, listen, I understand where you're coming from, and I respect it. But I really need to have sex tonight. What a classy guy, right? He couldn't even do this. Like, after she had left, he had to share the same cab with her. Ugh. So then we go back over to Samantha. I want to look like Samantha when I grow up. I just think she looks stunning here. So she's kind of flirting with Big, right? She's hitting on him, and he's not having it. So it's interesting because you can see Samantha is not used to not getting the guy or getting the attention, but he's not mean about it. He just completely shoots her down. She says she does PR for the club, offers him a private tour, and he just says, no, thank you. So Samantha ends up going home with Capote, which was, of course, Charlotte's date. So it's funny to see her back in his apartment. Meanwhile, Carrie's trying to find a cab. She's raising her hand, yelling out all this stuff, and a car pulls up. You guys, it's Mr. Big. And he says, well, get in. So he says, what have you been doing lately? What do you do for work? She says she's a sexual anthropologist. He thinks it means hooker. So she says, no, I write a column, Sex in the City. She's working on an article about how, so women who have sex with men, they feel nothing. And he says, you aren't like that. And she says, aren't you? And he says, not a drop, not even half a drop. So she says, wow, what's wrong with you? And he laughs and says, I get it. You've never been in love. Carrie then says she feels like he knocked the wind out of her. She has a very serious look because he actually sees her. She gets out. She thanks him for the ride. She ends up knocking back on the window again and says, have you ever been in love? And he says the line that he's known for. He says, abso-fucking-lutely. And he drives off, and we just see Carrie's face staring at the camera. And that's it for the episode, you guys. We have so much to talk about. I want to go into each individual lady. I want to know, like, how you're feeling about them. I want to talk about how I'm feeling about them at the time, how we're feeling now about them, the characters and all. I want to talk about the fashion of it all. I want to talk about the behind-the-scenes stuff. I want to talk about just what we're seeing in front of our eyeballs, like what's going on with the characters. Just so much. I love this show. I hope you can hear it, my voice, my true fondness, my true passion. I've been a fan since day one. I've rewatched this series. Oh my gosh, I couldn't even count how many times, but I do love it. And I hope you do too. Don't let And Just Like That wreck this for us, because I do love this. And I can compartmentalize it in my brain. I'm not going to let it ruin it for me. We're still going to talk about the characters. I know, like, a lot of stuff's going on in real life about Chris Noth. I'm going to keep that separate and just talk about Big on the show, because I liked Big on the show. We'll talk about Aiden. We'll talk about everybody. I just can't wait. I'm so excited. I'm so happy you're here. I can't wait to do this every week with you. We're going to get into it all. I appreciate every one of you so very much. I truly do. And yeah, let me know if you have questions, and I will talk to you guys again very soon. Take care, stay healthy, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.